So we took a bit of a break because Warzone's been relatively quiet up until today when Rebirth Island has dropped. So we're going to go over what are the 5 best loadouts you can use right now. We will be making stats videos going into the next couple of days, but this is going to get you started within Rebirth Island if you're joining back. So we're going to fly through this very, very quickly, and we're starting off with the TAQ Eradicator with the FJX Horus SMG, which is the new SMG that they added in with this season. So when it comes to the TAQ Eradicator, we're going to quickly get into this build. It's not really changed too much, but this gun did get a damage buff. So I do see it being a meta weapon because it was already pretty popular, even in like the previous season. So I do think it's going to be pretty decent once you get the TTK stats out as well. So as you can see here, we're using the Spirit Fire Suppressor, Bruen Heavy Support, Longest Barrel, Choreo Eagle's Eye Optic, that's preference by the way, and then the TAQ-V core stock. I don't really know exactly how you say that. Moving on into the new SMG, and this is a bit of a weird gun because it's actually blocked certain attachments on this gun, which would be very, very useful actually. So for example, if you look at the muzzles, they've blocked all the suppressors, all the muzzles that would help with recoil control, for example. The only one you can use is the new suppressor they've added in. Pretty weird here. Also, it's the same kind of with the underbarrel grips as well. They've done the exact same. So Bruen Heavy Support, which would be a very, very useful underbarrel grip for this gun in particular. They've blocked that off as well, so you can only use certain ones. And then we're going to try and make the best loadout we can with this kind of attachment setup that we do have. So we are using the suppressor that you do get, and this helps with ADS time as well by like 3%. Not massive, but I suppose a buff is still a buff. We're using the Bow Breaker Grip, which is this underbarrel grip right here. Helps with vertical control. It does con horizontal control, but you should be only using this at point blank range. The range on this gun isn't great anyway at 7.6 meters, so again, that's just something you need to factor in there. You can use something else if you want to, but I think this is the best underbarrel. 48 round mag because it's the biggest available, because it just makes perfect sense. We are using the POX TAQ grip, which is this one right here. Sprint to fire and aim down sight speed. Again, you want the best possible sprint to fire, aim down sight. And then we are using the Ripper light stock, which is going to help with hip fire spread, aim walking speed, which is basically strafing speed, sprint to fire speed, and movement speed. So all the movement buffs here. Now it does con recoil a bit. Taking both of these guns into the firing range, I want to show you the TAQ Eradicator first. And as you can see, it's a relatively low recoil gun, and with that damage buff, it's definitely going to be really, really good. Now, obviously at close range, it's going to fry, but at long range is where this gun excels, and obviously with the build that we've shown you, it is perfect. You can swap out the optic if you want for something else, but as a whole, this is a really good gun. Now, obviously the main gun I want to show you here is the new SMG, and as you can see, it's very much similar to what you'd feel like a WSP Swarm. Especially like movement wise, also like with the way it fires, really, really quick, fast fire rate weapon. And I can see this being pretty much the main meta SMG for this season, and that is probably because it's a new gun as well. So obviously the iron sights are relatively clean. I do want to say that the visual flash, if you don't put a suppressor on this gun, is very, very bad by the way. So I do recommend a suppressor just because it does reduce that visual flash in the game. Even though they said they fixed it, it's still not that great. The next two guns never really got a nerf with the new seasonal update, and a lot of guns did get nerfed, but these are two that only got nerfed when it comes to sprint to fire. Now when it comes to a long range rifle like the Subverter, not really that important, and then the HRM already had really good sprint to fire anyway, so I mean it's not really that important there. So when it comes to the Subverter, we'll quickly get into the build. We don't really need to show you these two guns in the firing range because they've already been out for quite some time now. You've probably already got your hands on these weapons already. So the Spirit Fire Suppressor, the Dozer Long Barrel, Bruen Heavy Support, 50 round drum, and any optic you prefer. I just prefer the Eagle's Eye Optic. I think it's the best one, cleanest one. Some actually do help with aim down sight and stuff like that, so if you've got those unlocked, then obviously you can use them instead. But this is overall going to be the best build for the Subverter, but this is something everyone's been using for a while now. Moving on into the HRM, again, the most popular or the second most popular SMG for last season. It's still going to be a solid choice. Everyone's still using this gun right now. And this is probably not the most popular build, but this is my personal favorite build for this gun. So Colossus Suppressor helps with recoil control, and it also helps staying off the minimap. Some people don't really care about that too much, so that's personal preference. A lot of people do use the barrel options because it does give you a cleaner iron sight as well, so that's something you can swap out. But personally, this is my personal favorite build. I do like the Kimura laser light. I do think it is the best at giving you just a little bit more movement stats. Hand stop underbarrel for the same exact reasons. 50 round drum mag, which is the highest possible mag capacity. And then we're using the hatchet like stock. Some people like using the folding stock, but I prefer the movement based stats, to be honest, especially since we're getting that con to sprint to fire time now. I think this is going to be an absolute must on that slight adjustment to the build. Moving on into the next class, which has got the new Moore sniper rifle and the WSP-9, which did get a nerf, but it was to sprint to fire. However, when you're constantly firing this weapon, so let's say you're already pre-firing, this gun has an insanely good time to kill. So we did make up for some of this new sprint to fire nerf with this weapon. Now you can make one other adjustment to make it slightly better, and we'll show you that in just a moment. But this is my personal favorite build. So we're using the Colossus suppressor, which is the best suppressor for SMGs in my opinion. Then we are using the hand stop underbarrel grip. And then we are using the 50 round mags, which is the largest mags available, of course. And we are using the Kimura laser light, once again, for the sprint to fire bonus. So we are focusing on that sprint to fire. And then we are using an optic on here. So we're using the new Moore's dot sight. Now you can use whatever dot iron sight you prefer, or optic for that matter. So that's going to help out. Now, if you do want to improve your sprint to fire even more, you can remove either the suppressor or the hand stop and put on the stock here, which is the no stock attachment. Now this is going to increase your recoil by quite a significant amount, so it's the only reason why I don't use it. But it's not to the point where you cannot control it, so if you are using it at mainly close range, it actually is a good choice. Now for the Moore's sniper rifle, this gun is a one-shot headshot up until 89.9 meters, which is actually pretty decent, to be honest. Now it does have like a barrel that allows you to charge the weapon then fire, but to be honest, it's not really that good. So you do just want to use a standard barrel that improves your damage range, because you want to get the max possible damage range to get the best one-shot headshot potential as far as you possibly can, and that is going to be the Emperor long barrel. Now we are using the Razor Hawk laser sight for better aim down sight speeds. We're trying to make this as quick and as snappy as possible. No optic, although you can swap out quick bolt for an optic if you prefer. The optic on this is not the best, to be honest, but it's good enough to use if you're trying to quick scope and things like that. Super light, again, for the better movement speeds and all that good stuff. Again, we're trying to make this as fast as possible. Quick bolt, again, making this as fast as possible. Rechambering speeds improved. And then the rear grip for aim down sight speed and aim walking steadiness, again, to make it as snappy as possible. Now I'm going to quickly show you the WSP-9 inside the firing range with that new optic. So as you can see, it does stand out pretty well inside the firing range, but against maybe the actual maps is pretty difficult. Now this gun is obviously a relatively decent sniper support with the build that we've got here, but not one of the best. But as you can see, the sprint to fire time is definitely not too bad at all. So even though they nerfed it, with the build that we have, it's not going to be noticeable at all. Now moving on into the sniper now, I want to show you that optic. It's not the best optic, but it is relatively clean. So we are trying to snipe here. As you can see, pretty decent snipes. It does aim down sight really quick, which is a really good bonus, but obviously we built it out that way. And the main thing is getting one-shot headshots, which I cannot seem to hit for some reason. But obviously the firing range is not the best way to show this, but as you've seen probably clips on YouTube by now, that this is definitely a one-shot headshot sniper up until that roughly 90 meter mark, which is pretty decent. Now this next loadout is a bit of a throwback, but also it is a buffed loadout across the board here. So the LACHMANN-556 and the LACHMANN sub both got a buff when it comes to damage inside this new update. Now whether they're meta or not, that's yet to be determined. To be honest, we still need to figure out the TTKs of both of these guns, but hopefully they are, because they're both really solid choices for other reasons as well. So the LACHMANN-556, we'll go over the build quickly, but is the one that we've been using for such a long time, and if you've used this gun at all recently, then this is the exact build you should be using. So we are using the LACHMANN RAPP barrel, the Spirit Fire suppressor, Bruen heavy support, largest mags, Eagle's Eye optic, or whatever optic you like. This gun is super low recoil, man. It's like super easy to use, so if it does have even a relatively competitive TTK, it's probably going to be the best easy to use gun in the game. So let's see how the TTKs stack out when we make our TTK videos. Getting into the LACHMANN sub, this is a good close to medium range SMG, and with this build right here, especially utilizing some of those Modern Warfare free attachments, This gun is a super solid SMG choice, so hopefully the TTKs are relatively decent. Doesn't even need to be really good, to be honest, it just needs to be in the mix, and this is going to be a very, very popular SMG choice for most people. So we're using the Colossus Suppressor, Bruen Heavy Support Grip, 50 round drum mags, Kimura Laser, and the Stockless mod here, and this is going to be an insanely good SMG to use. Recoil control is actually not too bad on this, even though we're using the Stockless attachment. But like I said, if any of these two guns have a relatively competitive TTK at all, then this is going to be a really solid loadout choice for throwing in a bit of a wildcard loadout here at number 5, and that is the Bruen with a WSP Stinger. We'll get on to the Stinger in just a moment, but the Bruen is a really popular gun from last season. Did get a nerf by 2 damage points in this season, but the reason why everyone uses this gun is because it's super low recoil, not necessarily because that's the best TTK in the game. And I still think it's still going to be a solid pick. Might not be the meta pick, but I think it's still going to be a really solid pick, and that's because not only that, you've got the new conversion kit, which is going to allow you to make this more like an SMG kind of thing. I don't really see that being too popular, to be honest, even though it might output some damage because it's still relatively a slow moving gun. But the good thing about the Bruen is that obviously you can use a 60 round mag. It actually got a buff to sprint the fire speed, so already it's going to be really good if you want to use the 100 round mag. And then on top of that, it's just super low recoil, so even though it got the damage nerf, it's still going to be a popular gun in my opinion. So the build here: Spirit Fire Suppressor, Horizon Barrel, Bruen Heavy Support, 60 round drum mags, and the Eagle's Eye optic. Moving on to the WSP Stinger, and this gun got a buff with this update. So if you use the gun in akimbo, you're going to get an improvement to the fire rate on this gun by 150 rounds per minute, which is actually insane, to be fair. So hopefully this is actually going to make this gun really valuable, and it probably make it a really good akimbo choice, and that is why I throw it in here. And that is because a lot of the SMGs actually got nerfed whilst this got buffed, so just keep that in mind. So we've got the Persistence Compensated Barrel, the 1 milliwatt laser, which is going to help with the hipfire accuracy. We've got the low grain rounds, which helps with recoil control. Now, even though this is not helping like any hipfire stats, recoil control still helps with hipfire. 32 round mag, which is the largest mags, and obviously we're using the akimbo attachment there because we need that bonus to the fire rate. So there we have it. Those are 5 best loadouts you can use right now inside Rebirth Island. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.